Hi everyone, and welcome back to Effective Leadership Strategies in the Workplace. Today we're going to revisit a topic we've covered several times, but that's imperative to being an effective leader. That topic is accountability. Accountability is an obligation and or willingness to accept responsibility for one's action. And as a leader, we know there's no such thing as effective leadership without accountability. Accountability takes time to develop, and it takes practice to develop. When a situation occurs in the workplace, if it's something that was a misstep or a miscommunication or something just kind of a project or an activity or event was not successful, that's upsetting. As a leader, you want things to go well. And if you're planful and intentional and you're taking action based on information you have, you want an event and an activity to go well. When that doesn't go well or it doesn't go as expected, it causes upset as a leader, right? So it's important when you're starting to build that accountability mindset that you take a step back and you think about what needed to happen differently in order for that activity to meet the goals, to meet the objectives that we originally planned, and to be successful. Building and strengthening the competency of accountability is a process. It's a journey. It's not a one-time event. You're not accountable once as a leader and say, great, I've got it, I'm an accountable leader. You accepted accountability at that particular time for that particular project, but it doesn't make you an accountable leader. Accountability is a competency that you're going to grow and strengthen and build over time. It's a journey. And there'll be some occasions as a leader when you're not as accountable as others because it makes you feel bad, right? It makes you think, I failed in this particular execution of an activity or a project or an event or an initiative from the organization. So it's a constant process. But accountability is not a best practice, right? It's not a one-time best practice. It's an expectation of all effective leaders. So for just a moment, I want to kind of differentiate between the terms skill and competency. So a skill is a learned ability that you need to do a job well, maybe a typing speed, or maybe statistical data analysis, maybe computer skills. Those are things that you need to do technically to do the job well. Competencies speak to the knowledge and behaviors needed to lead to success in a job. It includes skills, but competencies are about knowledge and behaviors needed to lead to success in the job. As a leader, when you think about your leadership abilities, especially as a newer leader in any industry and a more seasoned or tenured leader, you think about an accountability mindset. What types of reactions might you have experienced before an accountability mindset, and what types of reactions might you experience after an accountability mindset? So initial responses before the accountability mindset might be things like anger, fear, confusion. You get into kind of the blame game, right? I didn't do that. I asked so-and-so and so to help. I'm not understanding why that wasn't successful. And consequences. You start thinking about, how am I going to face these consequences that are going to come because the event or the initiative was not successful? After you implement accountability mindset, right? Accountability mindset. Some reactions to when an event is not successful are responsibility, ownership, the process of review. Let me go back and think about how I could have done that better. Which stakeholders do I need to involve so that I have a wider and broader perspective of what needs to happen? And then action. So you do the event, it's not successful. You take a step back, you accept ownership and responsibility for the fact that it wasn't successful. Even if you weren't the lead on the project, you're the overall leader. And then you get some feedback. Why wasn't this successful? How could this be more successful next time? Did I consider everyone's perspective? What could we do differently? And then you take action again. You can't become so paralyzed by the fact that an event wasn't successful, a conversation wasn't effective, that it prevents you from moving forward and doing that event again. This time with an accountability mindset, when you go back and you do another event, activity, conversation, then you're thinking, you're more well prepared, right? You're thinking more proactively. You have the feedback of all of the important stakeholders that you need. You're thinking about the feedback that you got as to how can I do this differently? How do I think more critically? Who do I need to involve? So you're arming yourself with all of the tools that you need to be successful. Did I set timelines? Did I have clear goals and objectives and expectations on how we would complete this project or move through this initiative or have this difficult conversation more successfully? And then you take action. And then you go back after the next action and you do the process again. You review, you step back, you get feedback, and then you move forward again. As a leader, you have to remember that accountability is a process and a journey. So there's a few things that I really want you to hone in on as a leader. Number one, accountability starts with you, and building a culture of accountability begins with the leader, and that's you. People are watching, you are modeling for people, you are practicing for people. You are mentoring and showing people that it is okay to fail sometimes. Sometimes you don't have all the information you need. Sometimes you don't have all of the stakeholder feedback that you need. You haven't set clear enough goals or expectations. And no matter how hard you work and how hard you try, that particular event is not successful. So being able to step back and say to your team, this event wasn't very successful. How can we do it differently and better next time? Is number one. Again, you'll hear me say over and over, accountability is a process and a journey. It's not a one-time thing. Accountability applies to everyone. It's not enough to expect for your team to be accountable when they make missteps or mistakes or something is not successful. You are the model of that accountability. Everyone is responsible for being accountable. Accountability is the difference between success and failure. It's not the activity that's the difference between success and failure, because some activities, some events, some initiatives will be extremely successful and some will not. So accountability is not about the blame game when something is not successful. It's about leaning into that action based on feedback, review, information from key stakeholders, rethinking, replanning, coming up with alternative options, and then going back into it. That's accountability. And then people have to be held accountable. So when you first get a new employee, it's important to set that expectation right from the beginning and to share that being held accountable is not a negative thing. Being held accountable helps to breed accountability and helps to breed accountable leaders. Set the expectation from the very beginning. Set the expectation through your actions and through your modeling and through your mentoring. Accountability should be the expectation in your work culture. So thank you again for joining me in this session of Effective Leadership Strategies in the Workplace. I hope to see you here next time. And don't forget, if you enjoyed this session and this content, feel free to tell a friend and ask them to subscribe right here. See you next time.